up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Hoopers Lounge podcast with myself and Max. We're about at the halfway point of the NBA season, but for some teams, the season is already over, and they're looking ahead to the off season, which is why we come to you today with our first 2026 NBA mock draft. We will post another one of these probably a week or so before the draft, so we can see how the board changed, who rose and fell over this time period. But this will be our 1.0 version of the draft. The 2026 class is advertised to be one of the best in a long time. There's three top prospects at the top of the board who are all talked about as potential all-time greats. So it'll be interesting to see where we have those top three players ranked, as well as the rest of the board. Before we get into the mock draft, though, we got two pieces of news because we've had some significant trade requests across the NBA since our last episode, which was a Trae Young trade. Trade season is heating up. Just earlier today, Jonathan Kuminga has officially, quote, demanded a trade away from the Warriors. He's been getting DNPs recently from Steve Kerr, which, again, we've talked about this a lot on the podcast, Kuminga and his Warrior situation. We've been saying he's likely to be traded, and now his official trade request makes it an inevitability. So, Max, you're the Warriors fan here. I'm sure you've seen this coming. Are you surprised in the slightest? What are your thoughts about the official request, and where do you think he'll go, and what do you want the Warriors to get in return for him?
I just want the Warriors to get something that they can actually use in return. I don't expect a lot because we haven't been playing him, and he's still an unproven, young player. But I am glad that he wants to move on. He deserves better. And frankly, if the Warriors aren't going to play him, you might as well trade him. Like, there's no reason him, sitting on the bench not playing when you're trying. When at least you tell your fan base that you're trying to win a championship. That doesn't make any sense. So as far as what I want in return, I would love to package him with a couple other players and picks to get like a Zach LaVine type player or just something along those lines. I haven't really thought too much about it. There were other guys floating around. But yeah, just something that'll help the Warriors right now. And I'm happy for him. He deserves to go to a place that will actually use him and develop him as a player, because I think anyone who's watched him play up to this point in his career thinks that he has the potential to be an all-star level player, in my opinion. There's no reason he can't do what Andrew Wiggins did for us in 2022. There's no reason Kuminga can't be that type of player. So I hope a team uses him that way, and I look forward to seeing him develop somewhere other than Golden State.
Yeah, the DNPs, like you said, all year has been confusing. And if that hasn't completely killed any, volume he could bring to the trade market, any demand, this official trade request did. Any leverage the Warriors had in trade requests is now gone. So I feel like they're going to have to package a lot more to get someone like Zach LaVine than they originally would have, especially to the Kings who are looking for picks. The Warriors are going to have to give up a significant amount of picks because Kuminga as a player doesn't have much trade value anymore based on how the Warriors have completely misused him. I'm not even going to say used him because they're not using him. So that's the official trade request. A couple days ago, we had an all-star in Memphis officially request out. Ja Morant's tumultuous time in Memphis appears to be coming to an end after he also requested a trade. Ja has not... he's stayed out of trouble this year, but he still has been in a lot of off-the-court drama with the Grizzlies. There's been multiple videos of him arguing and fighting with his teammates in pregame, in games that he's not even suiting up in, by the way. Games he's injured, which is, injured, resting. And Ja... the Grizzlies have thrown his name out in trades earlier this year, but the market was reportedly robust. So for an all-star caliber player like Ja, I don't even think the Grizzlies are going to get a first-round pick. I think that it's going to be a very, very small return, maybe similar to what the Wizards got for Trae Young. So, Max, what do you think Ja is worth in the trade market at this point?
I think you hit it, square on the head there. I think this a Ja trade would look very similar to the Trae Young trade. Not a lot of contending teams are willing to give up future assets or, young rising players for a guy like Ja. He doesn't do enough on defense, and he's too much of an off-the-court liability for you to pursue a championship. So look for a team that's bad and looking to build around a new star to trade for Ja or to, sign him whenever his contract expires if they can't get a trade done. So I agree, no first-round picks here. If Trae Young wasn't worth a first, I don't think Ja is. I think they're very similar in skill, and Trae just doesn't have the off-the-court issues that Ja does. So he's also proven to lead a team farther in the playoffs than Ja has. So I think teams will call the Grizzlies and say, hey, look what the Wizards just traded for Trae Young. Why can't I get a similar deal for Ja? So that's what I anticipated. And also, while you were talking about Kuminga, I had two other trade candidates pop in my head that I've seen floated around. One is Trey Murphy from the Pelicans. He'd be sick on the Warriors. And Michael Porter Jr., who's having a great year. He would also be sick on the Warriors. So I think Kuminga could be included in a package to get either one of them with maybe, Buddy Hield and a pick or, something similar to that.
I agree, but I also think Zach LaVine would go less than either of those two players would on the trade market at this point, just because of age and contract situation that the teams have. I think out of the three players you named, Zach LaVine would be the Warriors' most likely option that they would be able to trade for. And I like how you compared Trae and Ja, or compared them, sorry. I like how you compared them. Their skill sets are a little different, but in terms of like their tier, like where they are in the NBA star tier list, I agree. I think they're among the same. However, what Trae Young doesn't bring is off-the-court drama. And Ja has had a lot of that during his time in Memphis. So yes, his trade value has to be even lower than Trae Young's. And Trae didn't get a first-round pick. So I don't think Memphis is going to get nearly as much for Ja as they would if they traded him this offseason, or even a month ago, than they are now that his trade request is official and he's constantly getting in arguments with members of the Grizzlies organization. Just not a good look for Ja. It would be interesting to see the Pelicans maybe trade for Ja, pair him up with a 2019 first overall pick in Zion Williamson. I mean, the Pelicans don't have much to play for this season. They don't have their first round pick in the draft. So this season's kind of a wash. If they can get an all-star caliber point guard for a couple of veterans, I think that's a worthy trade for the Pelicans to pull and something that might be able to vault them back in the play-in picture.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly the type of team that I think both of us anticipate trading for a guy like Ja. I also want to say that if the Grizzlies are going to trade Ja, why not just trade Jaren Jackson Jr. while you're at it and just blow it all up? Just start fresh. Mm-hmm. I think he's another guy that I don't think he's officially requested a trade, but I do think his name has floated around, and he's a guy that I could actually see like a contending team trade for, because his skill set is a lot more versatile, and you can use his skill set in a lot more ways than you can use Ja's skill set. So that is another name to keep an eye on. I think of a lot of teams just off the top of my head that would like the team that comes to mind would be Boston. Like they would love Jaren Jackson Jr. in a Celtics uniform. That would be so sick. I think he like that would work in my mind. And there are some other teams too, but yeah, I anticipate him possibly getting traded as well.
Completely agree with you there. And Jaren Jackson Jr. in Boston would just be an upgraded version of Porzingis that Boston had when they won the title. So that would be an ideal fit for I think both players. Any other trade news, trade requests that you want to mention?
Nah, not at the moment. Let's get into this mock draft.
Let's get into it. Like I said, this draft in particular is one that a lot of NBA fans are excited for just because of the sheer amount of talent, not just at the top, but I think this is a very deep draft class too. I think there are a lot of young freshmen who could eventually develop into all-star players, which is not something we see. I mean, I have freshmen being taken late in the lottery rather than juniors and seniors being taken by teams that are looking to jump back in the playoff picture next year. That's very different, and I think that's a testament to the sheer depth of this draft class. But, like I said, there is a clear consensus top three, and I'm very curious to see where you have these top three ranked. So we'll start with that. Let's hear your top three picks of 2026.
Yeah, so just to clarify, we did the order of teams based on current record, and obviously we know that these teams can change positions and whatnot. I did mine a little bit more based on team fit. So the first pick currently sits with Indiana if there was no lottery and it was just based on worst record in the league. It would be Indiana right now. And for me, I think if Indiana were to have the number one pick, they would take A.J. Debinsa out of BYU. And let me tell you why. They already have the big guy, I guess, scorer in Siakam. They already have the point guard in Tyrese Halliburton, and I think you could throw Andrew Nembhard in that category. I don't think Cam Boozer would be a good fit with Siakam, and I don't think Darren Peterson would be a good fit with Halliburton and Nembhard. So where does that leave you? With A.J. Debinsa, who's arguably the best scorer in college basketball, hands down. And so I have him going number one overall to the Pacers. I think he's the best player in college basketball from an NBA-ready perspective. I compared him to Jaylen Brown based on a skill set, and then his athleticism reminds me of Anthony Edwards when he first came out of college. Like, this guy is super athletic. His skill set reminds me of Jaylen Brown. So those were kind of the two players I was comparing him to, and I have him going first overall to the Pacers. Next up currently is New Orleans pick, but like Alex mentioned, they don't have it, and that belongs to the Hawks. And with them just trading away Trae Young, I think they could use a point guard. So let me slide in Darren Peterson at 2 to Atlanta. I think this is a really interesting player. I haven't watched a lot of him, mainly because Kansas has been really underwhelming this year. But I wrote down a comp that I really liked when I watched his highlights about 30 minutes ago. He reminds me of Lou Williams a ton. Like, he reminds me of somebody who's crafty and just, he can get his shot up in any situation, and he has that pace to him that's very in control. He's not, one speed, full speed ahead. So he's a Lou Williams type, in my opinion, and he would fit in perfect with Atlanta because Lou had so much success there. So give me Darren Peterson at 2, and then at 3, like Alex said, to round out the consensus top 3, give me Cam Boozer at a Duke to go to the Wizards. Him and Alex Sarr really interest me as a duo, with Trae Young as the point guard. I think that would be fascinating to watch Trae Young mature with those two front court pieces in Washington. And I compared Cam Boozer to Nikola Vucevic. I know it's kind of hard to remember Vooch as an all-star level player, but when he played for Orlando, that guy was a bucket, averaging like 25 plus a night in Orlando. And I think Cam Boozer reminds me of that, where he's, again, great post player, which Vooch has always been a great post player. Cam Boozer has also established a three-point shot, which Vooch has developed throughout his career. And when I watch Cam Boozer, he's not the most athletic player. Like, when I think of athletic bigs in college, I think of like Anthony Davis, or I think of other guys of that nature. That, like, Cat was really athletic. But Boozer reminds me more of a grind you down player. He uses his mind more than he uses his body to get around you. Like, he's very crafty, and that just reminded me of Vooch. So those are my top 3. Debinsa 1, Peterson 2, Boozer 3.
All right. Well, we have those top 3 taken in the same order. We have different player comps for them, which is interesting. And also, I just want to say, player comps, they're a complete crapshoot. They're very unlikely to have similar careers as the players we're comparing them to. So this isn't to say that Debinsa is going to have a Jaylen Brown-like career. He just has a similar skill set to Jaylen Brown when he was coming out of Cal. So that's the purpose of the player comps. But I also have Debinsa at number 1. Debinsa committed to BYU. He was BYU's highest ever recruit. He was a second-ranked high schooler in his class behind Darren Peterson, and he has lived up to the hype at BYU, especially after the calendar has turned to 2026. He has been an absolute bucket. He's averaging 22.9 points, 7.1 rebounds, and 3.9 assists on the year, showing his ability to not only score but play make on BYU. He had a windmill dunk a few days ago that just looked so unbelievably effortless. It was jaw-dropping. As if I was an NBA scout, I would be salivating at the thought of having that talent on my team. Oh my God. It was that if you haven't seen that windmill highlight, go watch it immediately, because that sold me immediately at the bounce as number one overall in the class, as the most talented, most ready NBA prospect. I think he's a future superstar. My player comp for him is Jason Tatum as a three-level scorer. Similar to Brown. I don't think the bounce is as strong as a defensive end, or as strong as a defensive end as Jaylen Brown coming out of college. I think he's advertised as more of a three-way scorer, a three-level scorer, similar to Tatum coming out of Duke. Yeah, and I think Defense is going to be a star in the league. I cannot wait to see him paired up with Tyrese Halliburton. Number two, I have Darren Peterson. And let me just say, there are a lot of red flags surrounding Darren Peterson because he has missed a lot of games this year for Kansas because of a lingering hamstring injury. And when he has played, he has been on a 20 minutes per game restriction. And even in that minutes restriction, he is still oftentimes leaving fourth quarters early and not playing in crunch time due to constant cramping issues in games. Like, okay, I get it if you cramp it like during the end of a game once or twice, but this has been so prevalent for Peterson that it's starting to become a concern. So I know NBA scouts are going to be eager to get a hold of his medical records after the conclusion of the college season. And if anything pops up on those, Peterson could be a name that we see slide down the draft. But in terms of talent level, like you said, Peterson is a walking bucket. A three-level scorer, and he is by far and away Kansas's best offensive player. It's not even close. Kansas's offense looks completely lost when Peterson is missing games or when he's not out on the court. He's averaging 22.6 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists on the year. He could be a little bit better of a playmaker, but, I mean, he's an absolute bucket. He's an incredibly efficient scorer, and my player comp for him, I like the Lou Williams comp. I just think that's a little disrespectful to the caliber of player that he could be. So I liken him more to Devin Booker, who also wasn't the strongest playmaker coming out of Kentucky, but he was advertised as a three-level scorer. Went a bit later in the lottery, but he immediately brought his elite scoring talents to the league. I think Darren Peterson is going to do something very similar. And if his playmaking gets better over the course of his career, he's going to be an incredible player. And at the third pick, I have Cameron Boozer going to the Wizards. I have the same concerns with Boozer as you do. I think Boozer's floor, I think his floor is very high because of his high ball IQ, which is expected. His father was Carlos Boozer, an NBA player. And he's also can score from 3 levels. He's a very strong post player. He can knock down open threes, although I wouldn't say that's a strong suit of his. But his weakness is athleticism. And in the NBA, that's kind of a pronounced weakness. When you're a player with Boozer's height, he doesn't have the height to dominate power forwards, and he doesn't have the strength to dominate centers in the NBA like he does at the college level right now. So, I'm not sure how much star potential Boozer has in the league. I think a big skill set of his is going to be a three-point shot. If he can develop into at least a threatening three-point look, he's going to be an all-NBA level player. If he doesn't, I still think his floor is very high. My player comp for him is a shorter Domantas Sabonis. A very strong post player. He has the ability to play make. That's definitely not a weakness of his, but perimeter shooting is not what we would say is a strength of Boozer. And the athleticism for those two players, I think, is pretty comparable. So those are my top 3. Again, same order as yours, but different player comps.
Yeah, I like the player comps. I think Boozer at this point is maybe a more willing shooter than Sabonis. Yeah, it's just interesting to see your thought process. I love the Jason Tatum comparison for Debanza. I wrote his name down. I just liked Ant and JB a little bit more, but yeah, I think those are really good. I'm just gonna move down my list here and go 4, 5, 6, and this is after the top 3. It really is kind of just like there's just a whole bunch of guys that you could pick, and this is why I kind of influenced team.
It is, but I feel like 4 is also kind of consensus. I feel like there's a clear 3,
there is.
And then 4th is also the same for a lot of people.
Yeah, but that's why I kind of took team need into this to help me make my decisions, because most of these, like 5 and 6, for example, is in my opinion, a coin toss. Like it could go either way. So at 4, I have Caleb Wilson out of UNC, going to Sacramento. I think the Kings picking fourth, they need just the best player available on the board. Like, position doesn't really matter to them right now with how old their roster is and how much they need to get rid of before they can start the rebuild. So that's why I have Caleb Wilson there. When I watched his highlights, the first name that popped in my head was Pascal Siakam. That was the first name that popped into my head. He plays just like him on both ends of the court. And then I saw a couple clips. He has length. Like, he is lengthy, which reminds me a lot of Giannis. But I don't think his skill set relates to Giannis. I think he has the skill set of Siakam, but the length of Giannis, if that makes any sense.
That makes sense.
Whatsoever. So that was kind of my comp for Caleb Wilson, and I think you'll have him at 4 too. That was kind of the consensus 4 that Alex had mentioned. At 5...
Yeah, spoiler, I do.
This is one of my favorite players in the country to watch, and that is Michael Brown Jr. out of Louisville. I have him going 5 to Brooklyn. I think just the way he is able, like, just to command his teammates and how much energy he brings onto the court is something Brooklyn has been lacking since they had KD and Kyrie. Like, there's no one out there to just generate energy for the teammates around them. Like, I think Cam Thomas has a ton of energy when he plays, but it's all inward energy. Michael Porter Jr. this year has been great, but he doesn't strike me as a leader of a team. I think Michael Brown, he reminds me a lot of Damian Lillard, and that is my player comp for him. The way he has that quick trigger off the dribble, off the pick and roll, his ability to get to the basket is crazy, but his jump shooting a lot reminds me of just the style for Damian Lillard. So I have him going 5 at Brooklyn, and I think if they were to make a move for Michael Brown in the draft, I think Cam Thomas's tenure as a net would be over. I think they would move off of him, and something that I think they should do, especially if they are able to retain Michael Porter Jr., because I think every contender is calling Brooklyn about him. And then 6, I have Nate Ament. I think that's how you say his name.
Ament, close enough.
Yep, Nate Ament out of Tennessee, going to the Jazz. Once again, I wanted to put a point guard here, but then I remembered Utah had Keontae George, and so I switched it because I think Keontae George is the point guard of the future for Utah, so I don't think they would pick somebody over him, so that led me to Ament. And his comp for me was Paolo and Mikal Bridges, kind of like combined into one. I think of the 6 guys I've named, I think he's by far the worst from an individual scoring perspective. And I really like his size, obviously, which is huge in the NBA. I love his ability to hit open shots. That's important in the NBA. And his defense. So that, again, if you do all those 3 things, you're big, you can shoot open shots, you can play defense, you will have a role on any NBA team. And so I think Utah could use something like that. Maybe he's just a worse version of Lauri Markkanen, like something like that. But I think they could gel together, especially with Keontae George. So that's 4, 5, 6. I got Caleb Wilson, Michael Brown, and Nate Ament.
I'm not sure how I feel about the Paolo Banchero comp for Ament. Just in terms of the physical profile, I feel like Ament is built more like a Zachary Richer player, kind of a tweener, kind of a skinnier guy, rather than Banchero, who's 260 pounds of muscle. And I think that's also going to impact how they play. Amit's not going to be able to bully people in the paint on his drives like Banchero does. So I'm not sure what the player comp for that. But Mikal Brown Jr., I completely agree with a lot of what you said there. I am going in a different position. I think you're going to be interested to hear what I have to say about him. But to start at number 4, to Sacramento, I also have Caleb Wilson. Like I said, that was a consensus number 4 pick. He's been a constant double-double threat in his first season so far at UNC. He's averaging a double-double, actually, with 19 points and 11 rebounds. His playmaking isn't as strong as someone like Boozer's, which I think is why he's a tier below that top 3. And again, shooting is a key swing kind of trait for Caleb Wilson. If Wilson can become a respectable 3-point shooter, he could be an all-NBA level player because he does everything else at a decently high level aside from playmaking. He scores, he rebounds, and he defends at, I would say, close to what should develop into an all-star level. It's those other swing set skills that'll determine whether or not he can reach that potential. Caleb Wilson with the Kings, who the Kings should be looking to blow it all up this season, undergo a full-on rebuild, and they should be taking the best player available with their pick, which at this point is Wilson. His player comp is Scotty Barnes. I think Barnes came into the league as not a great shooter and not a great playmaker. He has improved in both of those skills to respectability, but Barnes came to the league advertised as a good driver and an elite defender. And both of those have continued this far in his NBA career. At number 5, going to the Nets, I do have a guard, but not Mikael Brown Jr. I have Darius Acuff Jr. out of Arkansas going to Brooklyn at 5. The Nets in their last draft. Oh, also, I just want to say, I didn't think I was going to consider team fit as much, but after the top 3, I was definitely considering team fit a lot more than expected. So this pick specifically was big because of team fit. The Nets last draft drafted 4 guards, none of whom are exactly playmakers. They're all primary scorers, not playmakers. Denham's a shooter. Drake Powell's a slasher. Ben Serap's a shooter. And I can't even name their 4th guy, but I don't think he's played at all. And then we have Danny Wolf, who's a center, and a weird center. Besides the point. Acuff, what he brings to the table that Mikael Brown Jr. doesn't is playmaking. Jr.'s a good playmaker. Acuff is an elite playmaker. Acuff is averaging 5.9 assists on the season to go along with 20 points a game. And I think that separates him from Mikael Brown Jr. That playmaking skill, and I think that's what makes him the top guard in the draft behind Darren Peterson. My player comp for him is Darius Garland. I think Acuff's weakness is on the defensive end of the ball, much like Garland coming out of Vanderbilt. A good scorer, a good playmaker, not a strong defender. So it'll be key for Acuff to improve on that area of the ball as his career goes on. At number 6, how about this one? This might be interesting. Excuse me. How about Tunde Yesufu out of Baylor? And the player comp I have for him, I watched one highlight of him, and I saw Anthony Edwards. I saw rookie year Anthony Edwards out of him. The 3-point shooting and the athleticism he has, it is unreal. Now, I will say this comes with a disclaimer that he hasn't had the strongest year at Baylor, and Baylor as a team has not had the best year. But I don't think that's necessarily Yesufu's fault, because at Baylor, it is him and Cameron Carr. Those are the only 2 players that can generate any type of offense. This 25-year-old that got drafted into the NBA 5 years ago and came back to college, he sucks, by the way. So you don't even need to worry about him. We're probably not going to talk about James Nashi the rest of the year. But those are the only 2 players on Baylor that can generate offense. So a lot of players are focusing and harping in on Yesufu and their defensive game plans. And even still, he's still averaging 17.5 points and 6 rebounds a game as a freshman with a ton of defensive attention on him. I think when he gets into the NBA, he will not be the best player immediately on his team. So the defensive game plan will not be centered around him. He'll be getting a lot better looks, and he's going to be a player that looks a lot better in the NBA than he did in college. And I think Yesufu, I think he has an incredibly high ceiling. He could be a star. And this player comp, this is absolute ceiling. This is best case scenario. I don't think he's going to be better than Caleb Wilson. But I think if both players reach their absolute pinnacle of their skill set, I think Yesufu will be better than Caleb Wilson. I think that's the point I'm trying to make. But I have him going at 6 overall.
Very interesting last pick there, because I'm looking at my list and I don't even have him in the top 14. So I don't know if I don't know ball or what, but I don't have Yesufu in my top 14. I do like the Acuff one, though. He's a little bit farther down my list, but I do like what you're saying about the playmaking. My player comp for him is a much more playmaking-centric player, so I'm interested to hear what you have to think once I get to him. And then, obviously, Caleb Wilson is both of our 4. I have no arguments with that. Moving on to 7, 8, 9 for me. At 7, I have Jaden Quaintance out of Kentucky. And this was the easiest pick for me just because of who's drafting him, and that's Charlotte. They don't need another guard. Point blank period, they don't. They already have LaMelo, Con Knipple, and Brandon Miller, and Colin Sexton. Like, the last thing they need is another guard. So I went with what I think is the best big available at this point in the draft, and that would be Jaden Quaintance out of Kentucky. He reminds me a lot of former Kentucky center Bam Adebayo. Just how physical he is in the paint reminds me a lot of Bam, cleaning up the offensive glass. Playing defense is very similar to Bam, blocking shots. And so that was the comparison I thought to myself. And immediately when I thought of Bam, I was like, yeah, the Hornets could use a guy like Bam Adebayo. Like, that's exactly what they could use. And so that was kind of, I just penciled him into the Hornets no matter what pick the Hornets had. That's why I have him at 7. At 8, I have Kingston Flemings out of Houston. This was a player that I thought I would have higher on my list. I originally had him at 6, which would have been Utah, but then I remembered Keontae George, so I switched that. And I have him going at 8 to the Mavericks, who desperately need a guard like no other. And this is a guy where I did a comparison for offense and defense because I felt like both sides of the ball are fair of a comparison to a different player. So offensively, I think he's a very Austin Reeves type player where he's great off the dribble, can get to the basket, can score in the mid-range. He's not the best shooter. Like, Austin Reeves is not the best shooter. He's not the best finisher, but he's good at all 3 levels, like we've mentioned for a lot of these guys. And then defensively, TJ McConnell just kept coming up for me. This guy is scrappy. He steals the ball. He blocks shots. He guards players that are bigger than him occasionally. And that is why TJ McConnell came into my head. So I thought if you could play offense like Austin Reeves and defense like TJ McConnell, you could be the best guard in the league at your peak. Like, you deadass could be the best guard in the league at your peak. And so I think you pair him with big guys like Cooper Flagg and Anthony Davis, and like that could be a little, something brewing in Dallas. So I have him at 8. And then 9, by far my favorite player in the draft. I loved watching him last year. Thomas Howe out of Florida. Holy crap, this guy's insane. This guy is nuts. And at 9, I have him going to the freaking Thunder, who own the Clippers pick. Could you imagine if the Thunder got Thomas Howe? That'd be the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Yeah. That would be he's the exact player they need to come off the bench and score some points. Like, hey, Jalen Williams is tired. We need someone to sub in. Hey, Chet's tired. We need someone to sub in. Yeah, let me give you Thomas Howe. That's a guaranteed 12 to 15 points a night in the NBA because he's an elite catch-and-shoot three-point shooter. He's very physical off the ball, can drive to the basket, great cutter, and then he plays defense. And so I don't know how you're going to feel about this comp, but the guy I compared him to is Draymond Green. When Draymond came out of Michigan State, he was very similar to Thomas Howe, in my opinion. He could score. He could play defense. He was physical, attacking the rim. And the only thing that's different now about Draymond and Howe is the playmaking, in my opinion. But I don't think Draymond was an elite playmaker coming out of college. So give me that comparison, kind of. Like, Thomas Howe is not going to be a 30-point scorer in the NBA, in my opinion. But he is going to be arguably your most important player night in and night out just because of how many things he does at a high level. And him going to the Thunder is stupid. Like, the fact that I could even think about, like, I could see him winning a 6th Man of the Year on the Thunder. Absolutely, I could see that happening in the next 5 to 6 years. So that rounds out 7, 8, 9. I've got Quaintance at 7, Flemings at 8, and Howe at 9.
Yeah, how about this? We have the same 7 through 9 picks in the same order. So we clearly know ball. And also, I really, really like your player comps there. I have different players, but I think our reasoning for these players are very, very similar. So I think we've really cooked with this section of the draft. 7, Quaintance to the Hornets. This was the first pick that I really considered, like, team fit, team positional need. Like you said, the Hornets have LaMelo Ball and Con Knipple at the guards. They have Brandon Miller and Miles Bridges at the forwards. What they don't have is a center. This draft class is a little weak on centers. I don't think Quaintance would be a top 10 player based on talent, but the Hornets need a center more than anything, and I think at 7, they'll still be getting good value with Quaintance. My player comp for him was Derek Lively II. who I think his player comp could easily be Bam Adebayo. So I think that's pretty accurate. Lively is a low usage center. He doesn't need the ball in his hands a lot. He'll be a good pick and roll lob threat. He'll be a good rebounder. He can protect the paint, but he doesn't need the ball in his hands to impact the game. And I think that'll be huge for the Hornets, who want to have LaMelo and co having the ball in their hands more often. So you hit the nail on the head with Quaintance. I really like a Bam Adebayo comparison. Yeah, so I'm going 7. 8, like you, I have Kingston Flemings. And Flemings, I want to say, he's kind of come out of nowhere this year. Houston recruited 2 5-stars to their team this year, including a 5-star point guard. Flemings was not one of them. The other 5-star point guard was Isaiah Hartwell. But Flemings beat Hartwell out for the starting job in preseason and has completely justified that decision because he has turned into an absolute star at Houston and probably a top 10 draft pick after his freshman year. He's averaging 15.7 points, 3 rebounds, and 5.1 assists. And like you said, he's not going to beat you with athleticism or elite shooting. What Flemings offers is high ball IQ and strong defense. He's going to guard the players that are bigger than him. He's going to be full court pressing. He's going to bring that toughness and that IQ that every championship team needs. So my player comp for him was Drew Holiday. I think if Flemings develops the skill set as Drew Holiday, I think he'll have a very successful NBA career. And then at 9, like you, I have Thomas Howell out of Florida. The Thunder are in the unique position where they are contenders but have a lottery pick. So they don't need to spend it on a young player who will take a couple of years to develop. They can instead spend it on an upperclassman who can be ready to contribute right away. And I think the best upperclassman this year is Thomas Howell out of Florida. Howell was a projected first rounder after Florida won the Natty last year, but he came back and he has improved his draft stock significantly, even though this draft is a lot more loaded than I would say 2025 is. Howell's three-point game, especially his three-point shot, has gotten so much better his junior year. He's averaging 17.2 points, 6.6 rebounds, and 2.3 assists. He can do it all on offense. He can do it all on defense. He's not necessarily elite at any one thing, but I wouldn't say there's a glaring red flag weakness in his game either. And for a team like Thunder, that's perfect. I like your Draymond comparison, especially thinking about Draymond Green coming out of Michigan, not current Draymond Green. But Green out of Michigan was a much more well-rounded offensive player than the Draymond Green we see today. So I like that. My player comparison with him was Jaden McDaniels because of his skill set. A jack of all trades. He's maybe not elite at one thing, but I also don't think he's bad at necessarily anything. Just a glue guy. He can do it all. He can fill whatever piece is necessary. In the Thunder, 2 years ago they drafted Topic, who still hasn't played in a regular season game. But he should be their future point guard. Last year they drafted Thomas Sorber, who tore his ACL and is probably not going to play in his rookie year, but he should be a future center. So the Thunder have multiple lottery first-round picks that haven't even played yet. So to add Thomas Haw to that, that's disgusting, man. The Thunder Summer League team is going to be something to watch. That's going to be fun. So yeah, that's my 7 through 9.
Yeah, I mean, we have the same players. I like all your comps. Drew Holiday was a great comparison for Flemings. I thought that was really good on your part there. And I mean, Thomas Howell to the Thunder, I think I would just stop watching basketball altogether.
Well, to be fair, I mean, I would rather the Thunder get the 9th pick than the 3rd pick, like it was looking like at the beginning of the year before Harden and Kawhi started balling out.
Yeah, I know, but I just like if Thomas Howell is as good as I think he can be in the NBA, like. All right, call me crazy right now, and I don't want to go off on a tangent, but there's a world where Thomas Howell becomes the Thunder's starting power forward over Chet Holmgren. Like, there's deadass a world where that happens.
I would agree with that if I didn't think Isaiah Hartenstein was going to leave in free agency. So I think that's going to open up the center position for Holmgren, and then
but assuming
that opens up power forward.
Assuming they just sign another center,
I think Howell could eventually develop into a starter on the Thunder. I agree with you there.
Like absolutely, and I don't see him starting over Shea, Dort, or Jalen Williams because those three are pretty set in stone in my opinion, as far as like the short term picture for the Thunder. But like, and Thomas Howe is not better than Chet. That is not what I'm saying. But like in 4 years, if they get Thomas Howe and Chet is like, maybe they trade Chet because Thomas Howe's like averaging 18 off the bench. Like I don't know. Like
just considering contracts, Chet's going to be a max player.
Like,
Howe's going to be on a rookie contract. The value of those contracts might be vastly different.
But I think Howe's skill set translates to the NBA like almost perfectly. Like he does everything well you want out of a kid coming out of college. So, and I think
Agreed. I just don't think he has an elite skill that's going to make him an all-star player.
I also agree with that. The other advantage he has over Chet is like 50 pounds on Chet. Like Howe is I mean, obviously he's a lengthy, tall dude, but he's got some muscle to him too. So that's just kind of something. And hopefully, I hope Howe goes to a different team. But I think I have him, and you have him going to the Thunder. All right, I'm gonna just rip off my last 5 picks here, 10 through 14. At 10, I have Darius Acuff. I have him going to Milwaukee, so congrats, getting a good guard like that. The reason I had him going to Milwaukee is because you guys need a point guard to take some pressure off of Giannis, a playmaking type of guard, and I compared him to Lonzo Ball. He reminds me a lot of Lonzo coming out when Lonzo was playing at UCLA. I think Lonzo was a better scorer at that point in his career, but the playmaking is like almost identical in my opinion. Acuff is very similar to Lonzo in that regard. So I have him at 10 to Milwaukee. At 11, Braylon Mullins to the Memphis Grizzlies. This kid is the next Klay Thompson, let me tell you. This kid moves off the ball like no one else in college basketball. He shoots the catch-and-shoot 3 like no one else in college basketball. And he plays for a coach in Dan Hurley who literally just draws up plays for him and they work every time. Every time. The kid gets open every time. I don't know how it's possible. I remember a game earlier this year against Providence that UConn played. I don't know his exact stat line, but he hit multiple catch-and-shoot on-the-move 3s without taking a dribble. And that instantly made me go to Klay Thompson. So I think, and again, Memphis, I don't really know the team fit there because I don't know what Ja and Jaren Jackson Jr. will be worth in the trade market this year. So I have no idea what the team fit for Memphis will look like at this point next year. So I went with what I thought is the best available player at 11, which would be the absolute sharpshooter, Braylon Mullins. 12, I have Koa Pete, who when the beginning of the college basketball season started, I thought he would be higher than 12, in my opinion. But I just think he's very, I don't want to say one-dimensional offensively, but he's like a worse version of Cam Boozer, if that makes sense.
I was going to say that exactly. Perfect description of Koa Pete.
Cam Boozer knows how to use his skills better than Koa Pete knows how to use his skills, and that's why Cam Boozer is better, if that makes sense. And I also have Koa Pete's player comp as Vucevic, but because I feel like they remind me of the same player, a slower, more unathletic big that knows how to score in the paint. Like that just reminds me of Vucevic, like hands down. So I'm a little disappointed that Koa Pete's at 12, but a team like Portland could definitely use another big, so give me Koa Pete at 12. 13, I knew nothing about this guy until I looked up his highlights today. Yaxel Lendenberg out of Michigan at 13 to the Bulls, and his player comp for me was Franz Wagner. I don't know if that was the Michigan jerseys kind of leaning me towards Franz, but I really like his how he attacks the basket. Very lengthy, strong finisher, and he's a good enough shooter for Michigan. At least, as good as Franz was in college. So he's at 13 to the Bulls, and then 14 to the Hawks again. This was a total crapshoot. I mean, I had like 5 guys I could have put here, but I just put a guy that I enjoy watching, and that's LeBaron Philon out of Alabama. His game, I think, translates to the NBA really well just because of how quick and athletic he is. He reminds me a lot of Ja Morant, how he's able to get to the basket and finish no matter who's on him and what bodies are around him. His jump shot is actually, serviceable as well, which that was a question mark for Ja and kind of still is in the NBA. I expect us to have questions about Philon's jumper in the NBA. this was one where I completely disregarded team fit because if the Hawks do draft Darren Peterson, I doubt they'll draft another point guard in Phylon at 14. But I wanted to include him on this list, so I put him at 14 to the Hawks, and that is my full mock lottery draft. What do you think about those?
So the two players that you have in your list that I don't are Koa Pete and Phylon. Phylon is someone I included in 14. Not included. Considered 14. So that's not. I don't disagree with you that on there. But Koa Pete, I completely agree. Worst Cameron Boozer is the exact comp I had in my head. But that's also where the issue arises. I mean, there's questions with Cameron Boozer as to what position he's going to play in the NBA. Because, like we said, he's too small to defend centers, but he's not. He's too. Yeah, not strong enough for centers, not tall enough for power forwards. And those issues for Pete are just dramatically increased. I mean, he's shorter, he's not as strong as Boozer, and I think he does everything just a little bit worse on the court. That's not a bad thing. I mean, that's going to get Pete drafted. I just don't think that's going to make him a lottery pick. And he started the year off with an insane game, too. So I thought he was going to be like a top 5 pick after that first game of the year. But Arizona has looked really good since then. It's been because of other players aside from Pete. He's going to get drafted, but I don't think he's going to be a lottery pick. I also don't agree with your player comp for Lendenborg. I don't think Lendenborg is that good of a shooter necessarily. Definitely not as good as Wagner was coming out of Michigan. And I think you'll see that in my player comp. But starting back up at 10, I have the Bucks taking Mikal Brown Jr. You were a lot higher Mikal Brown Jr. than I was, so I'm going to explain why I'm lower than him. I already mentioned playmaking, how I think Acuff is a better playmaker. I think Fleming is also a better defender. What really turned me off from Mikal Brown Jr. is the back injury that he's had that has kept him out since the middle of December. This injury reminds me of Michael Porter Jr.'s back injury that he had at Missouri, where he only played 3 or 4 games for the Tigers, had this injury, and although he was expected to be back, he missed the rest of the season, and this back injury was a consistent problem for him throughout the draft and led to him falling all the way down to 14. I mean, Michael Porter Jr. to start the year before the college season started was the #1 consensus first overall pick. But that back injury, it was the reason he slid down the board. And I think those same injuries could have come up for Mikal Brown Jr. A back is significantly more concerning than a hamstring injury is. So for Darren Peterson. So I think that would make Brown a lot more likely to slide down the board. His 3-point shooting was also highlighted as a strength of his, but he's only been shooting 26% on the year in the games that he's been healthy in. So it hasn't translated, at least at the college level, the elite 3-point shot that he had in high school at the very least. So my player comp for Brown was Trae Young without the shooting. Like you said, I do think Brown is a good playmaker, and he still will be able to score the ball, but without the shooting, obviously. And defensively is his big weakness. He is a complete liability on that end of the ball thus far in his career. I mean, he's an 18-year-old point guard. There's not a lot of 18-year-old point guards that are elite defenders. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but he's going to have to improve that facet of his game if he wants to make his stake in the NBA. The Bucks, they need to just get the best player available right now and not necessarily worry about team fit, because Giannis is about the only player you can say is confidently secure on the roster. You just need to surround him with the best talent you can get, and I think Mikal Brown Jr. right now is the best player left on the board. So he'll go down at 10. I think the Bucks will be willing to take a chance on his injury for the talent level that he has. And if he can find his shooting, if he can recover his shot, he'll be a great player. Number 11 for the Grizzlies, I have Chris Sinak Jr. out of Houston. I made this pick expecting the Grizzlies to blow it up. I think Ja's going to get traded, and I think Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to get traded. I think they're going to enter a full-on rebuild. This is the best player available for me, and this came down to Chris Sinak Jr. I see a little bit of Derek Queen in his game, in that he's a big man that doesn't thrive on the defensive end, but offers a lot of offensive versatility. He can knock down open 3-pointers. He's a good post-up guy. He can be a good pick-and-roll finisher. and he can play make. He has the playmaking chops, but defensively is not a strong. He still averages half a block a game, but no one will watch Kristen Mack Jr. and say he's a great defender. So my player comp for him was Bobby Portis. Player much stronger on the offensive side of the ball than he is defensively, but can help you a lot on the offensive side of the ball. Number 12, to the Trailblazers, I have Braylon Mullins. I like your Klay Thompson comparison. Excuse me. I just don't think Mullins is as strong as a defender coming out of college as Thompson was coming out of Washington State. But in terms of his shot, like you said, Dan Hurley is drawing him up off-ball screens for him to get open on three-point shots. He always gets open and he always knocks him down and it always works. Like you said, I don't know how it always does, but I mean, Braylon Mullins is a sniper. So my player comp for him was Desmond Bane. I think he's not the same caliber of shooter as Thompson, obviously. I'm not saying that. And he's also not as good defensively as Klay Thompson, which I think is more attestable to the strengths of Braylon Mullins. At 13, I have Yaxel Lendenborg going to the Bulls. And this was another one I picked out of positional need. I mean, the Bulls have Gideon Kobe White running the point guards. The Bulls seem incredibly attested to a rebuild. They seem like they're never going to do that. So at this point, I'm going to assume Vucevic is going to remain their starting center. And they have 1 out of 2 wing positions taken with Matas Buzelis. If they can fill out that fifth and final starting spot with Lendenborg, I think this Bulls team will be a playoff team, not a contender, because they refuse to blow it up, and this team is not going to ever contend. But it will be a year in and year out playoff team, because Yaxel Lendenborg he transferred to Michigan this year from University of Alabama, Birmingham. But his time at UAB, he was a walking double-double. And his role has decreased at Michigan because he's surrounded by a lot better talent. But he's still putting up 14.7 points and 7 rebounds a game, as well as a block and a half. So, like I said with your player comp, I don't think Lendenborg is a good shooter at all. Definitely not compared to Franz Wagner. So my player comp for him was Jeremy Sochan, coming out of Sochan. I have no idea how to say his last name, honestly. But coming out of Baylor, Sochan was a versatile defender, could guard the 1 through 4, 1 through 5. Offensively, his game was a work in progress, and he was definitely not a shooter. He's still not a shooter now. And I think Lendenborg's offensive game is more developed than Sochan coming out, but I think the strengths and weaknesses of both of those players are comparable. My final pick at 14 to the Atlanta Hawks again, I have them taking Kareem Lopez. This is the only player that I have in this mock draft that was not playing NCAA ball this year. Max, I'm pretty sure you didn't have a player not playing NCAA ball. The international draft class this year is weak in comparison to what it has been in other years. I think Kareem Lopez is the cream of the crop of this class. He was born in Mexico and is currently playing for the New Zealand Breakers in the NBL in Australia, I'm pretty sure. And so players overseas, it's kind of hard to look at their stats and see how that translates when they're playing against other pros. But I mean, Kareem Lopez is 18 years old and averaging double-digit points in a professional league. I think that in and of itself is good enough to get you drafted into the NBA, especially at a high lottery pick. My player comp for him was Deni Avdija. Avdija, at his time overseas, was not a great shooter. Honestly, he wasn't great at anything. Avdija was viewed as a long-term project, and he has developed into the player he is now. His offensive game has improved dramatically, and I think Kareem Lopez, his floor is a competent 3-and-D guy. He's not going to be an elite three-point shooter. He's going to be a respectable three-point shooter, and he's going to hustle on the defensive end. That is the bare minimum. But there is the chance that his offensive game can evolve like Avdija's, and Kareem Lopez can evolve into an all-star level player like Deni Avdija. So that's my lottery draft. What do you think of my 10 through 14?
Yeah, I think it's good. I'm surprised you don't have Koa Pete on there, even though you discussed in detail why you don't have him. I'm a little surprised that he didn't crack the list. The kid from Houston that you mentioned, Sanak, he was the guy I was considering for 14 along with Phylon, but I went with the guy who, frankly, is just having the better year stats-wise and impact for his team. I don't think Sinak has been as impactful for Houston as Philon has been for Alabama. So that's why I kind of gave him the nod there. Braylon Mullins, I agree that he's not the shooter that Klay Thompson is, or the defender. But I also think Desmond Bane is I want to say he's better as a shooter off the dribble than he is off the catch. And at least in his time as Memphis, he was very good off the dribble with a screen. And I feel like Mullins is more of that off-ball shooter like Klay, and that's kind of the only difference I have with that player comp. But other than that, no, I thought it was really good.
What do you think about Mikael Brown? I have him going a lot later than you did. What do you think about him going 10th overall to the Bucks? With the back injury, his 3-point struggles this year.
The injury and shooting struggles are worrisome. However, I don't think that should slide a kid like almost 5 spots, in my opinion. The injury more so than the shooting. I do think he'll get it together. What I didn't really understand was why you originally said he lacked playmaking, but then compared him to Trae Young, who I think, at least out of college, in my opinion, and in his early years in the NBA, was an elite playmaker. That was like, other than his shooting, that was his second greatest attribute, was his playmaking. And so that was kind of an interesting player comparison. Whereas I compared him to a guy like Dame, who's just a cold-blooded scorer.
Mikael Brown was a player that, while we were researching this, I was having a tough time finding a player comp for. Watching his highlights, there was nobody that stood out to me as, okay, Mikael Brown plays just like this guy. I saw Trae Young, and especially in his float game, he had a couple floaters in his highlight reel. I was like, okay, I can see a little bit of Trae Young in that. He definitely is not the facilitator Trae Young is. I didn't mention that, but that is definitely true. He's definitely not the shooter Trae Young is. He's not a terrible playmaker, right? I just don't think he's a level of playmaker as Darius Acuff or Kingston Flemings. I think if you're looking for a playmaking guard, you're going to go for those two. He could obviously develop into a better playmaker, and he arguably has a higher ceiling than either of those two guards, which I think is why the Bucks would love to take a chance on him at number 10. But I think the injury concerns, the 3-point lapse, and the defensive struggles make him and in terms of the second tier of point guards, it puts him at the bottom. He's obviously behind Peterson at the top, and then Acuff and Flemings, I think, are less risky picks.
Yeah, I understand that point of view, and in my head, I think his scoring ability and, like you mentioned, the high ceiling is why I have him a little bit higher, especially on a team like Brooklyn.
He does have an incredibly high ceiling.
That needs somebody to score the basketball. Like, They need that at the point guard position. Cam Thomas is great, but I think Cam Thomas has taken a step back this year, and I think I think he was a little overhyped last year just because of how bad Brooklyn was. So it'll be interesting to see how this shakes out. But I thought we had 2 really good lists. Like I don't think any of our picks were like, holy crap, why is he in the top 14? Like I could see all these guys getting drafted.
I want you to look at some Tunde Yesufu highlights at the end of this because dude is a bucket, and it's unfortunate that Baylor isn't probably not going to make March Madness this year, because that would have been an awesome platform for him to show off his isolation scoring abilities. He is a walking bucket, dude. I think he's going to be a draft riser. Don't forget about the name Tunde Yesufu.
Yeah, I'll definitely look that up. But let's get to the end segment. I know Alex has a new idea that he is going to share with us right now, so let's get into it.
Yeah, so Bryce Sensabaugh yesterday became the first NBA player in 30 years to have a 40-point game off the bench. And that had me thinking this morning, this is a really random 40-point game. How many current NBA players have scored 40 in a game? Well, after extensive research and a Google sheet that I made, it's a lot more than I thought. There are a lot of current NBA players who have dropped 40 points. So I have them all written down, categorized by teams. I have the number of times each of them has scored 40, 50, and 60 points. And Max, all you're going to do is try to guess how many the players on each team that have scored 40 points. We're going to see how many of them you get right. And I'm interested to see, because a lot of these are surprises. I would argue that I was more surprised by some players having not scored 40 points than some of the inclusions on this list. So I'll give you the team. I'll give you the number of players on that team, and you're gonna try and list the players out. This is a bit of a long list, like I said. So we're going to divide this up by conference. We'll do the Eastern Conference this episode, and then we'll save the Western Conference for a future episode. I did include injured players on here, so players like Tatum, Halliburton, and Lillard are on this list, among others, but those are the obvious ones, just so you have examples.
Okay.
And yeah, do you have any questions?
No. How many guesses are you going to give me per team? Because I don't want to just sit here and guess like half the damn roster.
Yeah, I'll give you one wrong guess per team. How about that?
Okay. All right, that's fair. That
okay.
At least raises the stakes, so I have to think
with
about it. So I have to think about who I'm guessing.
We'll start off with a couple of general questions. How many players do you think are on this list? How many players currently do you think have a 40-point game on their NBA resume?
All right, I'm going to do this just for the Eastern Conference because that's what we're doing today. So 15 teams.
Oh, hold on. Do total. Do total. How many total players do you think are on this list?
30 teams. I'm guessing there's 5 per team, so that'd be 150. I'm going to guess 150.
150, 40 points per game scores in the league. A bit less than that. It is 112.
Okay.
Okay. Honestly, that is still a lot more than that. 150. That was a high guess. I thought 112 was a high amount of 40 points per game.
With the 3-point shooting in the league now, I think a lot of guys are capable of getting to 40. I think.
Yeah. Okay. So 112 players are on this list. Which current player, Eastern and Western Conference, do you think has the most 40-point games?
I mean, I feel like
I think you should get this one.
I feel like this is a trick question. I'm between 2 players, and
I feel like you should get this one. Don't overthink it.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna go LeBron.
You did overthink James Harden.
What? How is overthinking taking the leading scorer of all time? How is that James overthinking?
Over the greatest isolation scorer of all time?
Alex, we're talking about the guy who has the most points all time. We're talking about the guy who has the most points all time. How is that overthinking it?
Okay,
that's like the most simple answer you could think of.
Max,
is LeBron. Yes.
LeBron averages 25 a game. Harden averages 35 a game. The 35 a game scorer is a lot likely to have more 40-point games than the 25-point per game scorer, no matter how many total points they've had in their career. It is. Don't think about total points. Think about it on a points per game average. That is the key number of this list.
Okay. When you said don't overthink it, my mind went, how do I just simplify this as most as possible? And that's LeBron James.
LeBron wasn't a terrible guess. He is second place.
Okay.
But he comes in at he comes in at 79. That is 30 less than James. 30
I can't
less
believe I just got
games
flack
than James Harden. That's a significant amount.
I can't believe I just got flack for that.
It wasn't a terrible guess, but I did think you would get that. Next question. Harden also has the most 50-point games. He does not have the most 60-point games. Who do you think that is?
Currently.
This one's tough.
Current players.
Yes, current players.
Yeah.
This one is tough.
There's Dame.
There you go. Yeah. Damian Lillard has the most with 5 points. Harden is in second with 4.
Yeah, Dame's
last kind of generic question I'm going to ask. What NBA player has had the most 40-point games in the playoffs? Okay, I'm going to say it again.
LeBron.
Don't overthink it.
LeBron, because he's played the most playoff games, and he's absolute demon in the playoffs. Yes, okay. My LeBron on the first guess was not that bad of a guess. You acted like that was the most... That was just the most...
It wasn't terrible. I just thought you would get Harden. That's all. I was just a little disappointed you didn't get it right. It wasn't a terrible guess, just not the right guess. But, yeah, those are the generic questions. Now we'll get right into the teams. Just for an example run, so you know what you'll be expecting, we'll start with the Indiana Pacers. The Pacers have had 3 40 points per game scorers. Tyrese Halliburton is injured, but he is included on this list with a career high of 44 points. What are the 2 other Indiana Pacers players that have scored 40 plus?
All right, so Tyrese is the first one. I'm going to go All right. I'm looking for people. I'm looking down at my phone, but all I'm doing is I'm pulling up the Pacers roster. I'm just pulling up team's roster. I'm not looking up anything else, so I'm not cheating. I'm gonna go with Siakam because
Siakam is one of them.
yeah, he's definitely scored 40.
Yeah,
And-
Siakam is career high is 52. So
Yeah, I'm currently between two
One
other.
more.
Yeah, I'm currently only between two other players who I think were capable of scoring 40.
you have one wrong guess. So
Yeah,
You're welcome to-
I'm
you're
gonna
welcome to
go
name
with.
both.
I'm gonna take a shot in the dark. I'm gonna go Benedict Mathurin because I think he's definitely capable of scoring 40 when he's hot.
Mathurin has not scored
Okay.
40 yet.
Okay, so the other guy that I was thinking of would have been Andrew Nemhard. Is that the other one?
Andrew Nemhard has not scored 40.
All right, I'm just
The
done.
last player on the Pacers to score 40 is Obi Toppin, who
Did he
has
do
a
that with the
career high
Knicks,
of
or did he
42
do that with the
points.
Pacers?
Good question. I can find out. How long has he been with the Pacers? Do you know off the top of your head?
I want to say this is his third year. I feel like he was there the last.
He did it with the Knicks in 2022. It was,
Okay.
I think, it was the last regular season game of 2022 is when he dropped 42.
Yeah,
And
I
that's
mean,
what we're going to see a lot in this list. Players getting those 40-point games in game 82.
all right. So what I go there? 2 out of 3.
Yeah, I'm just going to count based on if you got the team or not correct. And unfortunately, you did not get Pacers correct. So
Oh, okay,
starting
that's
off 0
fair.
for 1.
That's fair. Yep, I like that. Okay.
That'll be easier to keep track in our heads.
Yep.
Next up, we'll go to the Bucks. The Bucks are tough. They have 4 players with over 40 points per games. So let's see. One of them
Okay.
should be fairly obvious. Giannis, yes, he had career high of 64. Giannis has had 56 games
Okay.
where he has scored
All right.
over 40 points.
Kyle Kuzma has definitely scored 40, right?
Kyle Kuzma
Yeah,
has.
okay.
He's done it twice in his career
Yep,
with a
yep,
career high
yep.
of 41.
God, this is tough. This is really tough. Gary Trent Jr. He's dropped 40 for sure.
He has. Gary
Yeah,
Trent
yeah.
has actually dropped 40 on 3 different
Yeah.
occasions, which
Yeah, he's a-
surprised me.
he's
His
a
career high
bucket.
is 44.
All right, I've
One
got
more. You have 2 guesses to get this last one.
I've got 3 guys in mind.
You can only name 2 of them.
Yeah, I think it's safe to ignore him. I don't think he's ever gotten to 40. Okay, I'm going to start with Cole Anthony.
Cole Anthony has not gotten
Nope.
40.
Okay. I figured he might have done that with the Magic, but
All right.
that's all right. All right.
Let's see if you can
Now-
save an 0 of 2 start.
I just
you gotta get this.
Yeah, I just want to talk to the fans here. What my thought process. I'm between Bobby Portis and Kevin Porter and Miles Turner. And I just don't know what is the best guess, but I'm pretty fairly certain it's one of those 3. I'm going to go with my gut and say that it was Kevin Porter that scored 40.
Okay, it is Kevin Porter. And Kevin Porter has actually done it 1 time, and he had a 50-point game. So,
Come on.
Okay, I'm going to give you the Bucks. However, I am an idiot. I put the Pacers and the Bucks right on top of each other and forgot Miles Turner was on the Bucks. So Miles Turner actually has had 1 40-point game in his career.
Okay.
The Bucks have had 5 players. My bad. But you named Miles Turner. You got Kevin Porter Jr. right anyway, so you got credit for the Bucks. That was my error. 1
All
or 2.
right,
Way to save off from the
That was a hard one.
atrocious start. We
Because
needed
that was a lot of guys that I was like, did they not? Like that was rough. That was a hard one.
Next up, this one should be easier for you. We have the Cleveland Cavaliers, who have had 3 40 points per game 40-point scores.
Yeah,
Not
all
per
right.
game,
We're just gonna knock out the guards, Mitchell and Garland. Just knock
Mitchell
those 2
had the
out.
famous 71-point performance. He's had 32 40-point games, and Garland has had 5, including his career high of 51. One more player on the Cavs.
All right. Oh my God. Okay. I don't think Jared Allen's got to 40. There's no way. I don't know if Mobley's got to 40, to be honest. There's 3 guys on this list. I get 2 guesses. So I'm gonna start with DeAndre Hunter as my.
Hunter has not gotten
No.
to 40.
Okay. I'm between Mobley and Max Strus just because of how well of a shooter Max Strus is. He might have like just hit this on one night for no reason with the Heat. I feel like he might have dropped 40. But if it is Mobley and I guess Strus, I'm gonna want to shoot myself. So we're gonna go with Mobley, but I have a feeling it could be Max Strus. But
Mobley is correct.
Yeah.
Mobley has had one 41-point game in his career.
yes.
The third and final Cleveland
Yes.
player to have.
All right, while we're at it,
the
can you
40-point
look
game.
up Max Strus's career high real quick? Because I'm really curious to
Yes,
see
I can.
how close he is to. Because I think there's definitely been nights where he scored in the 30s for sure.
There are a lot of players that had career highs of 36, 38, 39, or almost one-time additions on this list. Strus is not one of those players. He had a career high of 32.
Okay, yeah, that's still though like okay that's pretty.
It's a 30-point game. I mean, 30 points in an NBA game. I'm not knocking the dude by any means.
Yeah,
That's
no,
30
but,
points more
okay.
than I'll ever score. But
I'm glad I went with Mobley.
Close to 40.
When did he drop 40? Like I'm just blank. Like I just didn't think he was that good of a scorer. Okay.
Here, if you're actually looking for the date,
Was
his
it?
career high is 41. I don't know the date. December 7th, 2024, against the Charlotte Hornets.
So last season.
Is,
So it was last season.
Yes, is when he had.
Okay.
That's when he had 41.
Okay.
All right. Next up, we have the Pistons, who only have 2 players that have scored 40 points.
Yeah, I think this one's pretty easy.
It's famous last words.
Yeah. No, I think it's pretty easy. I'm gonna lock in Cade Cunningham,
Cade Cunningham is correct.
and I'm gonna lock
He's at
in.
on his career high of
I'm
46.
gonna lock in Karis LeVert.
And Karis LeVert is the other one. That is correct. LeVert's had 4, including his career high of 51. I remember that 51-point game very well. I thought Karis LeVert was going to become a superstar after that game, but then the COVID pandemic happened and the league got shut down, and then he got hurt the next year and he never became a star.
Yeah.
So that was very sad. But I thought LeVert was going to be a bucket after that 51 points per game. I remember that very well.
That was easy. The only other guy I thought about was Tobias Harris, just with how long he's been in the league. But I'm glad I went with my gut there. LeVert, bucket.
Yeah. All right, last team in this division, we have the Chicago Bulls, who also only have 2.
Yeah, so I've been kind of talking about this guy all episode. So I'm gonna throw in Vooch because I feel like he definitely scored 40 with Orlando.
Vooch has had 5 40-point
he's-
games, including a 43-point career high performance.
Yeah, people forget how good he was in his prime. Like that guy was a bucket.
He was a bucket. He was dragging terrible Orlando teams to that 7th and 8th seed. It was impressive.
Yeah, the other guy on here, you said only one more, correct?
Only one more.
God, looking at this roster, I'm going to go Kobe White.
Kobe White is correct. The second and final
so
Bull with a
dialed in
career
right
high
now.
of 44.
I'm unbelievably dialed
Max,
right now.
4 of 5 out of Division 1. We like that. That's a hell of a start. Let's see if we can keep this above 75%. I think that's a good goal for you to hit.
Yeah,
if you can keep it above, if you can get 3/4 correct.
Yeah, and
I
I was
think that'll be a
only
win.
one guy off getting the Pacers right too, so I am kind of dialed in right now.
All right, let's go to the Hornets division. Start with our local Charlotte team, who have had 4 players on their roster with 40-plus point games.
So
This one is tough.
yeah,
Good luck.
I'm looking at this roster. So LaMelo Ball has 100% scored 40, no doubt.
LaMelo has. He has
Yeah.
a career high of 50. He's only done it twice in his career, surprisingly.
Yeah,
But LaMelo is on the list.
He takes so many shots. All right, with Alex saying this one was tough, I feel like we definitely have some guys on here that. All right, with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and say Colin Sexton, just because you said it was tough.
Sexton he's had
Yeah.
2. He's had
Yeah.
the same amount as
Yeah.
LaMelo Ball
Yeah.
actually.
That's crazy. That's a great stat right there. All right, so that's 2 of 4, correct?
That is 2 of 4. Correct.
All right, did Miles Bridges ever score 40? Like, I don't know. Same thing goes with Brandon Miller. Like, I really don't know. This one is tough because there's so many guys that on their team that can do it, but they haven't been playing in the league that long. Like, oh God.
2 players left in the Hornets.
All right. Well, I can guess both of them and bank on getting one of them right. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to guess Bridges and Miller and hope that one of them has scored 40.
Okay, Bridges has, Miller has not.
All right,
Bridges
so,
has
all right,
3
perfect.
times, has a career high
Okay.
of 46. You got 1 guess left, 1 player left
Yeah.
on the Charlotte Hornets.
Oh, God. There's a guy on their team that I know for a fact will eventually score 40. The question is, has he done it this year? And then there's a guy I'm looking at. There's no way this guy scored 40, but, like, there might be. I'm going with Khan. Did he score 40 this year?
Khan has not
No.
scored
Okay.
40 yet.
Okay.
You know who the 4th
No,
player
wait,
is?
let me guess. Let me say who I was going to say instead of Khan. Is it Grant Williams?
Okay. No, it is not.
Okay. I was looking at Grant Williams and I was
You
like,
know who it is?
did he do it with Boston? I don't remember.
You're going to be shocked. Pat Connaughton
Oh, yeah,
has
never.
scored 40
Okay.
points in an NBA game.
Never would have guessed him. I'm okay with that. I
43
never would have
points
guessed him.
in the final game of the regular season and one of the years with Milwaukee. So,
Hey, shout
that
out to
puts you
him.
at-
Wow.
yeah, shout out Pat Connaughton.
4 out of 6.
That puts you at 4 out of 6. We'll go to the Atlanta Hawks, who, by the way, the Trae Young trade is in effect. Trae Young is not a member of the Hawks for purposes of this.
Okay.
The Hawks have had 3 players
Yeah.
with 40 points.
Jalen Johnson,
Johnson he's had 2. 43 is his career high.
CJ McCollum.
McCollum, he's had 16 actually, with a
Holy
career high of 50.
Jesus Christ, 16?
McCollum is actually,
Good
he's also
God.
had 2 40-point per game. He's 2 40-point games in the playoffs, which we haven't talked about the guys that have been scored 40 in the playoffs. But so far, it's only been Giannis and Donovan Mitchell. So McCollum is the 3rd guy that you've listed that has had a
Okay.
40-point playoff game. He's had 2 of them.
All right, so
One more player on the Hawks.
I'm thinking about Porzingis. I'm thinking about Luke Kennard just because he's a sharpshooter, and I'm thinking about Nickeil Alexander-Walker because I feel like maybe he got to 40.
Because he's cousins with Shea.
Yeah, maybe. I think that's about it as terms of this roster. I don't. Did Zachary Richer score 40 last year? I know he probably hasn't this year. God, I don't know. All right, so that's 4 guys. I got 2 guesses. We're gonna start with Porzingis because if I don't guess him, I'll be mad at myself.
Porzingis is the 3rd and
Yeah.
final guy. He's had 3 in his career high. He has the same career high as Jalen Johnson with 43 points. And that's 3 for 3 on Atlanta.
Yeah,
Moves
money.
you up to 5 and 7. We'll go to the Washington Wizards, who have had 2. This one should be pretty easy.
Yeah, Trae Young.
Trae Young has had 34 40-point games in his short career. I say short. It hasn't been 10 years yet, so I'm going to call it short.
This is really easy.
And he's had 1 40-point playoff game in a career high of 56.
Yeah, and then the other one should be Chris Middleton. Like,
It is.
Yeah, there's no way. That's wrong.
Middleton's the 2nd and final Wizard. He's had 2 40 points in the playoffs.
Yeah.
He's had 5 in the regular season, a career high of 51. All right, down to the Orlando Magic, who also have had 2 40-point scores.
Yeah. All right, I'm just gonna go ahead and lock in Desmond Bain and Paolo. 2 guesses right
Both
there.
of those are correct. It is Paolo and Bain as a 2. Paolo has a 50-burger and has dropped 40 on 6 other occasions. Bain came up just short with a career high of 49 and has done it and has dropped 40 twice. All right, Miami Heat.
Oh boy.
This one
Yeah.
is going to be tough.
Uh-huh.
We have 6 players
Oh,
on
dear
Miami.
God. All right. All right. And I only get 1 wrong guess here. I gotta lock in. Like, this
You only
is.
get one
Yeah.
wrong
This
guess
is
with
all
this.
right. So let me go. Let me. Jesus, I don't know. Jesus. All right.
You started chuckling before your first guess. Not what we want to hear.
All right. Let me go with my goat 2022
Okay, hold on.
All-Star. Oh my God.
I'm gonna give you one out of the way.
No,
Sorry,
no.
Terry Rozier, I included him.
Yeah, I knew you did. That's why I laughed. Looking at him,
Okay,
I was like, you
okay,
definitely
sorry.
included
Okay,
him on
sorry.
this list.
I didn't know if it would be fair or not to include him because he hasn't played this year with the whole gambling thing, but he is technically on the roster. He scored 45 times. I didn't know if it was fair or not. I'll give you Rozier.
The best thing about him being on the roster is every game they have to do like injury reports, and his injury report is not injury related. Like it says Terry Rozier's out, not injury related.
For the 40-something games they've played this year, it's what it says every time.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
I
Okay,
didn't know if it was fair not to include him. So
I definitely
five players aside from Rozier.
I definitely would have guessed him because that's why I laughed. I literally looked at his name and I was like, he definitely scored 40 in his career.
Yeah.
All right, so Rozier's
he's
one.
done 5 times actually.
All right, I'm gonna go with my GOAT 2022 legend Andrew Wiggins. We're gonna knock that off first.
Wiggins has done it 10 times in his career. So that surprised me. His career is 47.
Norman Powell, that's my next guess. He's definitely scored 40.
Powell, he's done it twice. They both come this year, actually.
Yeah.
With a career high of 43.
I know that because I bet on him frequently. So, yes, thank you very much, Norman Powell. All right, Tyler Hero's going to be my next guess. Tyler Hero's going to be my next guess.
Hero has done it. He's scored 4 times, has a career high of 41.
All right, this is about to be an absolute pull.
6 players on the Heat. We got 2 left.
But thank God I'm looking at this roster because I never would have known he's on the Heat. I'm pretty sure Simone Fontecchio scored 40 when he played for the Jazz. So I'm going to lock that in.
Fontecchio has not scored 40.
No.
And I'm not going to lie, I thought Fontecchio was a player that might have gotten 40 in a game.
I was so confident.
He seemed like the kind of player that would have.
Can you look up his career high? While I'm looking at the roster, can you look up his career high?
I think it's only 30 if I remember correctly. I think his career is 30.
Well, now we're in a pickle because
27 actually. His
God,
career is 27.
He's not even close.
Yeah, it wasn't even close.
All right. Well,
2 players, 1 guess left. Let's see if you can clutch up.
All right. Again, I'm going with the theme of if I don't guess him, I'll be mad at myself. So, Bam is my next guess.
Bam has done it one time. Yeah, okay. Career high of 41 points.
All right. So
one player left on the Heat for all the marbles.
No. Already guessed him. Absolutely not.
Okay. You get it right or wrong here.
He could have. No. Oh, it's. Oh my God. There's so much. Okay. All right. Oh, Jesus. All right. I don't think Ware scored 40, but he's definitely a guy that might be able to. Davion Mitchell and Jaime Jaquez are who I'm between. Jesus. And yeah, I guess you could throw in Nikola Jovic in there too, but I don't think he scored. All right, I'm going to go with Jaime Jaquez Jr. Final guess.
Jaquez is correct.
Yeah.
Jaquez is the last 40-point scorer on the Heat. He also has a career high of 41. He's done it 1 time.
Team me up.
Clutched up those last 2 picks. That puts you at
10 for 12.
10, I believe.
10 for 12. I'm keeping track.
Yeah, we've only done 10 teams, bro. 5 teams a division. We've done 2 divisions.
What? Wait, all right, hold on. Tell me who I've only gotten 2 wrong, so that would put me at 8 and 2.
Yeah, you're 8 of 10. You've gotten the Hornets wrong and you've gotten
Pacers. Pacers.
Yeah, Pacers.
All right, my fault.
Hornets and Pacers.
I'm cheating the system. That's my fault. My fault. Okay.
No, all good. So 8 of 10 going into the last division in the East. We'll start off with the Sixers, who
have a lot.
Wow. 7 players from the Philadelphia with 40 points.
Well, that makes sense. I'm just going to rip these off rapid fire. Okay. Embiid, Maxey, George, Lowry. Give me all 4 of those right off the rip.
All 4 of them has. Embiid's done it 48 times, including his career high of 70 points.
Oh.
Maxey's done it 13. Paul George has done it 22. Kyle Lowry's done it 4 times.
Give me 2 more off the rip. Quentin Grimes and Eric Gordon. Give me those 2.
Both of those players had done it twice.
Yeah, all right.
Eric Gordon even has a 50 burger on his resume. Fun fact. 1 player left on the Sixers.
I did not know. I did not know Janai Broom was on the Sixers. I learned something new every day. Did not know he was on the Sixers. All right. I'm between a couple guys, and I got 2 guesses here because I absolutely just cleaned house on the first 6. I really have a feeling about this guy. I'm gonna go Andre Drummond.
Drummond has not scored 40 points.
All right. I figured he might have in Detroit.
One player left on the Sixers.
I feel like this guy had a great game when he played for a different team, and I just don't know if that great game constituted as 40. Ooh, okay. All right, I'm gonna go along a similar line as Quentin Grimes. I'm gonna go Kelly Oubre.
Kelly Oubre is correct. That is the last 40 bomb player on the Sixers. He's hit the 40 mark exactly one time in his career.
I feel like he did that with the Warriors. I feel like. I could be wrong, but I feel like he did do that with the Warriors.
Let's find out.
It's either
Kelly Oubre.
He might have done that with the Wizards, too.
He did do it with the Warriors against the Dallas Mavericks on February 4th, 2021.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to the Celtics, who have 5 players with 40-point games.
All right, so you're giving me Jason Tatum, correct?
Yes, Tatum is included in this.
He's one of the 5.
29 of them, including... Okay, also, Tatum has had 5 games over 40 points in the playoffs, which is definitely among the most out of players.
He's a demon in the offs, dude. Okay.
The playoff riser with a career high of 60 points.
Okay.
Jason Tatum
Give me Jaylen Brown and give me Anthony Simons.
Brown and Simons both have. Simons actually has done it 4 times, which is more than I thought. He has a career high of 45. Jaylen Brown's done it 15 times. 2 other times in the playoffs. Has a career high of 50 that he set this year. 2 more players on the Celtics.
All right, Derek White. Is that obvious?
White has done it.
Yeah, okay. I figured. And then
White's only done it 1 time, but he has 41 as a career high.
All right, let me just lock in 2 guesses here, and then you can tell me if one of them is right. I'm going to go with him. All right, I'm going to go... I only need to get one of these right, correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm going to go with Sam Hauser or Peyton Pritchard. One of those 2.
Sam Hauser has not scored 40. Peyton Pritchard has scored 40. He's done it twice. His career high is 43. So that's another team right.
Now I'm 10 for 12.
We'll go on.
I was speaking into the future.
10 for 12. You were. You predicted it. You called it out. We'll go on to the Brooklyn Nets. They have only had 1. Yeah. But this one should be pretty easy.
Oh. Well, okay. All right, to up the stakes, I'm not going to get a wrong guess for this one because I could totally just guess 2 guys and it would be easy money.
Okay, so self-admission, Max has to get it right on this guess.
Yes, I'm not going to give myself 2 guesses for 1 player. That seems kind of lazy.
I still think this is a player you should. I think you should get this pretty easily.
Yeah, you say that, but there's 2 guys on their team that easily could have scored 40.
But I'm also thinking of performances. Yeah. Okay, I'm not going to give you any hints. But
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with a guy that has had a lot bigger scoring role for most of his career, and I'm gonna lock in Cam Thomas as my guess.
It is Cam Thomas.
Yeah.
Cam Thomas has scored 40 10 times, including that stretch last year where he had 3 straight 40 points per game.
He was unconscious last year.
I was surprised to find out that Michael Porter Jr. has never scored 40.
Yeah, but if I had a free guess, I totally would have just guessed both of them, and then that would taken the risk out of it. So
it would have been easy. I know Porter Jr. didn't have a big role in the Nuggets, but still, I'm surprised he didn't catch fire 1 game and drop 40.
I mean, he's got one of the best shots.
A bit of a surprising omission.
He's got one of the best shots in the league and has for many years. So,
all right, 10 of 12. We have
11 of 13.
11 of 13 now.
Now Alex is cheating. Now he's cheating. Oh my god.
All right, 2 teams left in the Eastern Conference. Do you want to go with the Knicks or do you want to go with the Raptors? I'll let you choose.
Hey, you've been driving the ship the whole time, so you choose.
All right, next up on the list then, I have the Raptors. So we'll go with them. They've had 3 players score 40 plus.
All right, Brandon Ingram, I feel like has definitely scored 40.
Brandon Ingram has. He's done it 7 times. Yeah. Career high of 49.
No, maybe. No. All right, I'm going to go... All right, I'm just going to guess 3 names. I'm going to go Barnes, RJ Barrett, and Quickly. And I just have to get 2 of those 3 right.
All right. You do, but Scotty Barnes has not scored 40 points.
It's fine.
So
Scotty's
you need to hope
he's a
Barrett
bum.
and
He's a
Quickly
bum.
are the last two, and they indeed are. Barrett has done it twice. Quickly's done it once. Barrett actually has a 46-point game on his resume, which
he
I was surprised. I don't remember when
did that with Knicks for sure, right? Like that had to have been.
Yeah,
with the Knicks.
definitely. And I'm guessing Quickly was also came with the Knicks, honestly.
Yeah, that's probably true too.
Yeah, those are the three players on the Raptors. Puts you at 12 of 14. Let's see if you can close this off at a strong 13 of 15 by getting the... Wait, we have a out here. Hold on a second.
Knicks.
Yep, we have six New York Knicks with 40-point games.
All right, yeah, just give me Brunson and Cat off rip.
Yeah, Brunson has 20 of them. Cat has 19 of them.
Cat
has a career high of 62 points.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot about that. Even crazier, Cat has scored 40 points 19 times in the regular season. He has not done it once in the playoffs.
Right.
Brunson, meanwhile, has done it 20 times in the regular season and 9 times in the playoffs. One's a playoff riser, one's a playoff faller. And I think it's pretty clear who's who.
Yeah, that is true. How many did you say? 6?
6 total. You have 2 out of 6.
Okay, give me Jordan Clarkson.
Jordan Clarkson, hell of a pull, and that is correct. He's actually done it 4 times in his career high of 45.
Yeah, all right. Give me Mikal Bridges. I feel like he definitely did that with Brooklyn when he was the best player on
Bridges
that team.
has 7 times, also career high of 45.
Okay.
2 left.
All right, give me OG. I feel like he's done it.
OG has only once, and he just barely ate at 40 points, but OG is in the 40 points club. Last player in the Eastern Conference.
This is really tough.
To go 13
looking at the rest
15.
Looking at the rest of their roster, I'm between 2. Yeah, I'm between 2 guys. I'm between 2 because I don't think Josh Hart has done it. I don't. So I'm not going to say Josh Hart. I'm between 2 other guys. First guess is Landry Shamet. 40 burger.
Landry Shamet has not.
No. Okay. Jesus. Maybe it is Josh Hart. No. I'm going with my gut. Miles McBride. Come on, give it to me.
Deuce McBride has not scored 40 points. And
don't.
How mad are you going to be to find out it was Josh Hart, who has scored 44 points in an NBA game?
In what?
The one and only time he has broken 40.
Who did he do that with?
This one, actually. Let's find out.
Who did he do that with?
Career high. Josh Hart's career high, 44 points, March 12th, 2022, while he was playing with the Portland Trailblazers.
What were his stats, like shooting percentage? He must have taken like 30 shots to get to 40 points. There's no way.
Let's see, March 12th, 2022. We're gonna have to dive deep into the ESPN basketball schedule to find this one. But this one occurred March 19th, 2020. I'm actually curious to find this too. Because
how did he score 44 points?
Josh Hart had that surprised me. Josh Hart had a 44-point game.
Did he score 44?
Max is befuddled right now.
I am confuzzled right now. Like I don't know
what was the date I was saying? March 12th, 2022.
2022, yeah.
All right. He did it with Trailblazers against Washington.
Of course.
Josh Hart stats on the day. So he actually helped the Blazers end a 6-game losing streak with his 44-point performance, where he shot 15 of 21 from the field, 6 of 9 from three-point range, 8 of 8 from the free throw line, and also added 8 rebounds, 6 assists, and 4 steals. Hell of a game for Josh Hart.
Yeah, I did not know he had 6 of 9 from 3 in the bag. Did not know that was possible for him. Jesus Christ.
I didn't know he had 21 shots in the game
in
the bag.
Yeah,
like,
who else was on the Blazers team in that game? Like who else was he playing with? Dame? No way, Dame let him get 21 shots a game.
No, he was not.
No shot.
The other starters were Brandon Williams, CJ Elby, Trendon Watford, and Drew Eubanks.
Jesus Christ.
Josh Hart being the number 1 option. That makes sense.
God. Oh, my fault, guys. I forgot about the game with Drew Eubanks as our starting center. My fault. My fault.
How could you forgot about the Josh Hart legacy
my
game?
God.
Unbelievable.
How did he have 8
But
rebounds?
you know what?
Too.
That puts you. Josh Hart gets boards. Josh Hart has had multiple 20-point board
I
games
know
with the
he
Knicks.
does, but not when he's taking 20 shots. He's got to be tired. How the hell is he getting boards?
It's true. Dude, he's a Tom Thibodeau discipline. Dude's cardio is unlimited. It's infinite.
Remember when he
The
used to
Tom
play
Thibodeau
like
disciple.
46 of 48 minutes in the playoffs? Like how?
No, I
Like-
remember 48 of 48. And then if
Yeah.
any overtime games, he would still play all 5 minutes. Thibodeau would not sub him out at
No,
all.
he wouldn't.
So, shout out to Josh Hart, an absolute
All right,
Iron
so
Man.
12 for
But
15.
That,
Not bad.
well, that's 80%. That's still above the 3/4 mark. Hell of a job in the Eastern Conference. We'll have to see if you can maintain that in the West. But overall, good job. Which 40 point per game score surprised you the most in the East? I think Connaughton got you pretty good on the Hornets.
Yeah, that did get me pretty good. Jaime Jaquez, did he scored 40? I think I guessed him,
Yeah,
but
he was
that's
the last
that,
one. Yeah,
that
he did.
still surprised me because I was not I thought Fontecchio was like a guy on there that scored 40 before he did, so that kind of surprised me too. I would say those two, him and Connaughton, were probably the two most that surprised me, and maybe Josh Hart. Maybe it was Josh Hart that surprised me the most.
Yeah.
I mean,
Josh Hart was a surprise too.
yeah.
I mean, and then Obi Toppin was the other one on the Pacers that you got.
Yeah, I mean, wasn't he a number 1 overall pick? Like
Toppin, he was number 8,
but he was
he
hyped
played
up
college
as
in Dayton.
yeah.
Yeah, he was a Wooden Award winner.
Mhm.
And he carried Dayton to like a 1 seed, but then COVID happened.
Yeah.
Excuse me, we didn't even get March Madness, so
Yeah.
that kind of sucked. It would have been cool to see.
He was the
Toppin,
best
but he wouldn't
player
have
in
Dayton.
college basketball. Doesn't mean he's the number 1 pick. Yeah, got it. Oh,
Yeah, he won. He did
yeah.
win the Wooden Award though.
Speaking of that, I was looking at our mock drafts and I was thinking to myself, because I'm a Cooper Flag glazer. I think Cooper Flag would still go 1 in this year's draft.
Okay, fun fact: this draft class is so stacked, and Flag was supposed to be in this class, but
I
we
know.
were reclassified here. So the fact that Flag, like this draft class, is already loaded, and it's supposed to have Cooper Flag. Thinking about it, I truly think I would take DeBonsa over Flag. It is
No
close
way.
between those two. It is close. It is close. And I think DeBonsa isn't talked about as a generational prospect because Peterson and Boozer are also generational prospects. So he's not being hyped up as much as someone like Cooper Flag, who is the clear consensus number 1 pick. It's not that, like, DeBonsa's case for not is just because the draft class is so stacked. It has nothing to do with his talent. Comparing talent, man, I think about that windmill dunk every time I think about DeBonsa and how much. Like, this is not a knock on Flag. Flag is an incredible prospect in his own right, but DeBonsa is special, man. I am telling
He
you,
is.
this guy is going to be a stud. If Flag was in this class, I think it would be a clear top 2, and then the next 2. I think it would be Peterson and Boozer as a clear next 2. I don't think it would be a tier of 3 at the top. I think it would be DeBonsa and Flag in debate, and then the rest. But I do think I would take DeBonsa over Flag. But that is a good question. I think it could go either way. I don't think it's obvious choice either way.
I agree
Whatever
with
team
you.
at number 1 would be struggling.
Yeah, I agree with you that DeBonsa is the only guy that is in the same tier as Cooper Flag as a prospect. I do agree with you there, and I think that the edge I would give to Flag, is the defense. Like that kid is that kid defensively was amazing last year.
He was incredible, and it just is intangibles, his hustle. He has everything you want in a superstar. But I think DeBonsa's offensive ceiling is sky high and much better than Flag's. I think I think Flag's overall ceiling is better because his defensive ceiling is much higher. But DeBonsa's offensive game I think it's going to be insane the day he steps into the league. And I think DeBonsa could easily become a 30 points per game scorer. And
just wait till
Okay,
Lou,
well, not
Lou
easily.
just
Okay,
wait till
sorry,
Lou
nobody
Dort
easily
gets in
becomes a
his
30 points
grill.
per game
Just wait till
scorer.
Lou Dort just frustrates him. Just wait till the Alex Carusos of the world give him hell.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, this is a loaded draft. I'm excited to see how they do in the league. But that'll wrap up our mock draft episode. And I guess our 40 points per game episode too. Or I keep saying per game, 40-point game score episode. Tune in to our next episode to see how Max does with the Western Conference 40-point game scorers. And tune in a few months to see our updated mock drafts, to see who we have rising and falling in our rankings, to see where we have players sliding after the draft lottery is set in stone. And this is actually the first time we've ever talked college basketball on this show. So, bit of a landmark there, bit of a highlight there. I'm sure we'll have another one with March Madness coming up very soon. Stay tuned for that. But until next time, we'll see you guys later.
Oh, yeah. Full bracket breakdown will be done on the Hoopers Lounge. That is for sure. So peace out, y'all.
Peace.